The Qur'an speaks about two kinds of Christians. Two kinds of Christians. Who are those who in Akhir or Zaman will be the closest in love and affection to you Muslims? Allah speaks in Surat Maidah, which is the 5th surah of the Qur'an. And He says, لَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. Every single word in the Qur'an is so powerful. So we can see clearly who are the Christians. And you will most certainly find in time to come that you will most certainly find at that time when the Qur'an was revealed and in the future. Now listen carefully. That there will be a Christian people in time to come who will be closest in love and affection for you, Muslims. Why? This is because they still have amongst them the integrity of the institution of priesthood and monasticism. The monastery, the monk, the monastic way of life. And because they are not an arrogant people. They are not an arrogant people. Who are they? Can we identify them? Which Christians is Allah speaking about? What is there in these Christian people? How can we recognize them? Is it the Roman Catholic Church or the Protestant Church? Which Christians is Allah speaking about? Allah gives us guidance by which to identify the Christians who will be closest in love and affection to us. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ, which is either present or future, because this is fi'l mudariya, present and future, the Arabic verb. And you will most certainly find in time to come that those who will be closest in love and affection for you would be a people who proclaim, we are Christians. Oh, but wait a minute. They don't proclaim themselves Christians in the United States, Britain and France. No. Religion is a private affair. We've been secularized. We proclaim ourselves French and British and American. And religion is for Sunday morning. That couldn't be British and American and French Christians because they hide their religious identity. They secularize their religion. But these are a different kind of Christian people. قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. They proclaim themselves, their identity. We are Christians. It has to be a different kind of Christian who proclaims my identity. I am Christian. So this could not be Western Christianity. Kindly eliminate it. A Christian people who will be closest in love and affection for you Muslims at that time. As you found at the time of the Prophet when the Qur'an was revealed, when the Christians of Abyssinia, a Christian people, opened the doors, opened their hearts, and kept us as refugees. And when Makkah sent their emissaries to demand the repatriation of the runaway slaves, the niggers said, no, I'll never give them up. And we want to go and remind Bulgaria, and remind Greece, and remind Russia, and remind the whole Orthodox Christian world, this is what you were like once upon a time. you will most certainly find in time to come, not only at that time but in the future as well, that those who will have the greatest love and affection for you Muslims would be a people who say we are Christians. That's not all. But there's a second reason, second thing that Allah speaks about. The Qur'an goes on to say, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ. The reason why they will behave like this, you know these Christians because they still have their ulama. This is because they still have amongst them the integrity of the institution of priesthood intact. The religious scholars still have a status in that Christian people. That side of the world, the religious scholarship is gone. But this side of the world, the ulama of the Christians still have a very high status and a very important function in society. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ. In that Christianity out there where a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate, the priest is a laughing stock of the world. In this Christianity out here, Orthodox Christianity, the ulama or the priest still have a status, high status. And then Allah goes on to say something else, a third thing, وَالرُّهْبَانَ ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ وَرُهْبَانَ. There'll be another way you can recognize these Christians. What is it? And that is because they still have the institution of monasticism. Or eliminate Western Christianity. In Britain and in France and in the United States and Canada, the monastery is now McDonald's hamburgers, or Kentucky Fried, or Pizza Hut. There are no more monasteries. The monastic way of life is gone. Which Christians have the monastery today? Not Britain, not the United States, not France, not Germany, because the monastery today is McDonald's hamburgers. Or the monastery is today a bingo hall or a dance hall. But these Christian people still have monasticism. But in this part of the Christian world, the monk still has an important place. The monastic way of life is still treasured, which is why Kosovo is such a difficult problem. Because Kosovo is the heart of the monastic life of the Orthodox Christian. And the Ottomans knew that. And Bill Clinton knew that very well at Daytona. Oh yes, he knew it. The devils. So this is the Christian who will be the closest in love and affection for you. Which Christian people is Allah talking about? So you have to look for a Christian people who are still holding on to the monastic way of life. Where are they? Who are the Christians who to this day are holding on to monasticism? Even if you perceive them to be hostile to you now because of past grievances, the Qur'an cannot be false. You can change their hearts and tomorrow they'll be the closest in love and affection to you. Yes. I hope Egypt is listening. So you'll identify them, you recognize them because of the institution of monasticism. And then Allah says a fourth thing about them. But one more thing by which you can recognize this Christian with whom you will make an alliance. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. They're not an arrogant people. They don't want to rule the world. is because they do not have arrogance stamped on their forehead. These are not Christians who want to get the whole world to become carbon copies of themselves. Huh? They're not an arrogant people who believe that they have a birthright of superiority and that the rest of the world are like cockroaches. They're only natives, and we have the burden to civilize the rest of the world. You can't study international relations and study the history of international politics without coming face to face with this arrogance. The colonization of the rest of the world so that they can civilize the rest of the world. This is not Orthodox Christianity, not at all. When they launched their crusades, were they Christian crusades? Yes, it was a pope who launched them, but it didn't look at all like Christian crusades. No. Why? Because they were not only after Jerusalem, they had two goals they wanted. Number one was Jerusalem, and number two was Constantinople. Yes, they wanted Constantinople. They wanted Orthodox Christianity to bend its knee before Rome. And in one of the crusades, perhaps it was the third, they did succeed in conquering Constantinople. And they held it for 80 years. They had Hagia Sophia, the greatest cathedral of Orthodox Christianity, under their control for something like 80 years, until the Orthodox Christians were successful in throwing them out. But they treated the Orthodox Christians with contempt. So I don't think this can qualify as a Christian crusade or Christian jihad. It looks more to me like a European jihad rather than a Christian jihad.